Welcome in, everybody, to 2024 Spring North American Challengers League Open Qualifier 1. It's always a fantastic way to start off the year. My name is Yanni. I'm joined here by Alk Battery. Alk Battery, we have Ole Miss versus Cosa Gamers. 4 seed, 29 seed, one of the most hyped teams coming into an Ole Miss. And you can see what they're putting together in the draft already. It's looking pretty solid.
Yeah, of course. They are, this is one of the first tournaments that we're actually getting to see this Ole Miss roster play with their new top laner. We had the Immortals Invitational, but I think a lot more time with a newer top laner, one where they've had more time to play scrims, more times to get some more stage games. I think this is going to be a really fantastic development, as well as something that fans of collegiate League of Legends can be really excited for, as you get to see a lot of the collegiate rosters perform before the start of the season.
Yeah, and they're all teams that you can be proud of, right? Every team has something bright amongst them, and Ole Miss is obviously no exception. They may have multiple bright spots, Everybody is starting to talk up jungler Icelandic hero, right? As the anointed one, potentially, the one who is like, hey, this is a great up-and-coming young jungler, a guy who that is just getting better and better as he progresses through his career so far. And, this Ole Miss team, it looks so much different than it did at the beginning of 2023, right? They didn't even have a Shogo at the beginning of 2023. They didn't have, their top lane was in flux and everything like that. Now the roster is getting nice and settled. I'm expecting a pretty strong run, but Cosa Gamers, on the other hand, take a look at what they're putting together. They've got some solo queue monster champions on their team. They've got a Singed, a Taric, and a Seraphine.
This is a good luck, have fun trying to play AD carry composition. This is something that, regardless of any of the new items, any of the new patch that we're on for season 14, this is a game where playing marksman, playing in the bot lane role, is just not a requirement. You are not going to be required. It is just survive for as long as you can. I do like the answer of the Swain into this composition. Without the Seraphine, they're pretty low range. And even with this champion, the thing I'm worried about for Cosa Gamers is now you're relying a lot on the burst potential of a Lee Sin to try to get through Wukong, as well as the Swain. And while the Senna is going to be particularly squishy, the rest of this composition is notoriously difficult to get on top of. So Cosa Gamers are going to have to really rely on our 2 damage dealers that we now see with this Yasuo last pick. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think that they have enough if Ole Miss is at an even state in the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, sure, Yasuo gives you plenty of punch, right? But again, it's another melee champion, right? Going into this very deadly composition for short range champions. I mean, Ole Miss, I like what they're pulling out here, especially with the Udyr. We've seen that champion be an incredibly popular pick in LCK recently. And everything else is just so great. You've got scaling out of Swain and Senna, infinite to the ends of eternity, and great team fight initiation. So, as you said, as long as it's an even game state, I'm almost assuredly thinking that this is going to favor Ole Miss.
Yes, so let's do some housekeeping. 1, because we had to start the stream in the middle of the draft, and 2, for anybody who is just joining the Qualifiers broadcast and maybe are unfamiliar with either the format or what exactly is going on. So for 1, we started the draft halfway through because we have to record all of this locally. If you're obviously watching this, you're going to be seeing the VOD of this broadcast going on. And for 2, the format, we do have a Swiss, so in case you're new, this is going to be, we did have the selection committee, which was filled with team members, team representatives, as well as some casters, myself, Yanni included, voted on 32 of the best teams that qualified or that put forward an application to be here. And after that, now we're playing the Swiss round. This is day 1, so 2 games are going to be taking part today, and tomorrow, I'm trying to remember what today's date is. The 21st will be the last 3 days of Swiss.
Yep, you got to go 3-2 to get in.
3 wins. 3 wins is all that matters.
Yeah, it's proven difficult for some teams in the past, but it also means that for teams like Cosa Gamers, right? Obviously, they're coming in as the 29th seed. Like, this is, let's not beat around the bush here. This is a mountain to climb for them, but it does mean that if they lose to Ole Miss, they're not out of it. Like, right? Like, you could just win 3 out of your next 4 games. You've played League of Legends, Alk. How easy is it to win 3 out of 4 games?
Oh, true. When we had promotion, like the promotion series you had to play.
Oh, don't remind me.
None of in ranked. None of these new kids would know what that means because they're all sitting here with, I don't have to promote anymore. Like, I just play 1 game and boom, I'm in the next tier.
They don't even promote anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't know the struggle of having to play your promotion series and you're just getting targeted 6 times in a row. It's wonderful. Either way, yes, 3 wins is the magic number. It doesn't matter if you go 3-2 or if you're going to see the 5-0. That would be awesome to see. But as we are going to be following Ole Miss, we're going to be looking at their journey. Polymer has had a pretty successful run, I think, trying to qualify. And for Cosa Gamers, sadly, part of the Swiss format, one of the maybe drawbacks is because we did seed off of committee votes, a lot of this is going to come down to what your seed is. You are always going to have a much tougher time, at least perceived, if you are a lower seed. If you're below 16th, you are not expected to make it into the main tournament. And so for Cosa Gamers, they have been a team, they've been an organization that has been in the qualifiers a couple times. They've not, unfortunately, been able to qualify in the past. And so with this roster, I think this is going to be an exciting one for them as long as they can manage expectations and see how far exactly they can push it. Because we have seen a lot of underdog stories come through the Swiss format and make it into top 16.
Yeah, and it's not like this team is hapless or anything, right? We're not trying to frame it that way at all, but they did compete in ACL 2023 fall, which was very highly competitive. They got 2 wins in their round robin stage. They went 2-5, which, is not great, but is chock full of really, really good teams. And, in their group was Ole Miss. They weren't able to get any victories over Ole Miss, but, these are players that have played against really, really good teams. There are 2 players on the squad that have not participated in a qualifier yet. So hopefully they'll be able to get the job done. That'll be Pride, the top laner, and I believe Idol, the AD carry for the side of Cosa Gamers. But when you're headed by a support in Potato's been around the block for a little bit.
Yeah. Potato was one of the members that when I saw on this list, I said, okay, someone that had experience playing in qualifiers, has experience of at least a couple of stage games as well. So I thought, hey, this team could do well. I'm actually curious, Yanni, where did you rank this team for your committee votes? Because this is something that obviously one of the exclusive things that you and I would have as people who were on the committee is our information towards votes. So I'm actually going to pull up our votes here.
Yeah, I am too, because I'm trying to find it.
I'm denied access. Oh, because I'm logged in as someone else.
No, I was denied access too, even on all of mine. But hold on, I'm just going to RMC's.
Oh, true. If you, for anybody who doesn't know, obviously we were just talking about being on the selection committee, which helped with that. And for the committee, all of our votes were publicized. You can go to Rally Cry Official, as well as Random Minion Caster did post the seed variants, as well as also posted the public votes there.
Yep. And I correctly seeded Cosa Gamers at 29.
I have them at 31. That's
pretty sharp voting by me.
And where do you have Ole Miss? Because I have them at 4th. I have them at 3rd. Sorry, I have them at 3rd. I put
Ole Miss at 5th and got a lot of hate from Colin.
I mean, rightfully so. Well, okay, why did you put them at? Okay, look. This is your time. Why did you rank them 5th? Like, give us, this is part of the committee process. It's about being open to feedback. So for anybody at home,
of course. Yeah. So the reason why I put Ole Miss at 5th is because I took a look at a lot of these rosters. I actually put BlackRock 4th over Ole Miss. That was my only one that I wasn't sure about. I was waffling back and forth on it. The strongest part of Ole Miss's game is Shogo and Rhino, in my opinion, although Icelandic Hero is quickly getting up there. The thing is, I don't anticipate a lot of these top teams having a bot lane that's going to lose their shirt against Rhino and Shogo, right? So then it comes down to the mid lane. And, we all know that Uncle Sam has definitely not been heralded as the strongest mid laner. I think Uncle Sam is quite good, but I think there's a little bit of a differential in the mid lane between some of these teams and Ole Miss. Like, if you ask me, am I going to take Robbie Bob or I'm going to take Uncle Sam, I'm going to take Uncle Sam. So that's the only reason why. And listen, when you're a very, very good team, when you're high seeded like that, 4th and 5th seed, it's essentially a toss-up, right? Like, I think those teams are so close. I could have certainly seeded Ole Miss 4th, but this is also their first OQ because they could not participate in prior ones with Shogo due to certain rules. So yeah, that's why I put him 5th. And you know what? If people are gonna flame me for it, that's all right. But I also think 5th and 4th are just so close that it doesn't matter.
That's what I like to hear. Defend yourself. Do not bend. Do not break. Never give up. Never what?
But yeah, maybe
all right,
into the
well,
game here.
That's completely fair. I think for Uncle Sam, something that they're going to have to be working on this year. I know that if you think about last year, a lot of this was the first time that we actually got to see Ole Miss step out onto the stage with this roster. There were some pretty impressive events, as well as, I think constantly being, that third, that fourth, not necessarily the bridesman, but the groom in this instance. Not able to see the flowers. I do want to. We as a community, and I think as people who are friends or kind of friends of either the players or people on the staff, we do want to see this team succeed. And obviously, this starts here with their first game. Again, 4th seed versus 29th, pretty heavily expected to go in the favor of Ole Miss. And let's take a look back at this comps. We're back into the game now. It is a Seraphine Tarek, and this is a great level 1.
Oh yeah, they're gonna get in here and do a heck of a lot of damage because retroizing does so much. He's gonna get first blood actually, just simply off Qs and autos. So they take the bot lane of Ole Miss by surprise. They're gonna do a lot of damage to Shogo too. This is gonna ruin the early lane here.
Yeah, think about it. There's no teleports in this lane on the side of Ole Miss, and the fact is that when you are playing this bottom lane, it is going to be a little bit difficult to gain priority over the wave. You have double ranged here, but Seraphine just does such an excellent job of being able to hold on to that and can constantly push if she really wants to using her double Q. So this is already not great, and for the side of Ole Miss, we're looking at potentially now utilizing some of those flashes. Aeon Crystal is pathing towards the bottom side. So is Icelandic Hero. I expect to see a little bit more setup as the game goes on and as we get further, these junglers getting towards this lane.
Yeah, and one thing that also makes life harder on is Uncle Sam, right? So they gave Uncle Sam comfort. Akshan, one of the champions he's definitely known for. And, obviously, you take a look at the CS numbers right now, it's looking quite good, but giving a kill over to the opposing laner, when you're like, all right, excellent, I got my champion, I got the comfort, it makes you just kind of go like, man, really? Is this how it's going to start?
It's okay because Uncle Sam can finally, have some ego over his bottom lane. When we look at Shogo, I mean, this guy is the 2-time CLOL champ. This guy has been winning. The only thing stopping him from being able to play in qualifiers is the fact that he was, unfortunately an EMEA first in terms of residency. I want to see, everybody's been waiting to see Shogo play. This is the biggest excitement. The fact that he could only play in Collegiate League of Legends last year was a crime. And now we finally get to see him on stage in another environment is always going to be really fun. Being down 0-1, I think that's the perfect way to start the qualifiers, and especially for Cosa gamers who we have been talking about as needing every advantage they're going to get.
Yeah, and I mean, you can just take a look at how strong this lane is here because they've already shoved them back in. You get so much pushing power out of the Swain and the Senna. Individually, their pushing power, not so great. You combine them, it's more than enough to be able to hold off a Seraphine, so them getting advantage in full scaling is Aeon Crystal going to get here and land a Q into Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam could be in a lot of trouble here. He's going to be forced to flash away, but they follow it up and pick up a kill.
All right. I don't know if that was like a visual bug on our end, but if I was retroizing, I would be screaming this is a scam because he landed the EQ with the tornado and it didn't knock up Uncle Sam. I would immediately be Mia pinging and be asking some questions. I'd be asking some tournament organizers.
Pausers?
Yeah, any pausers? My champ is bugged. Did end up getting that, but again, like you were saying, 2 kills, and now potentially a gank onto this topside Stray.
Yeah, they set this one up perfectly, and the poison is going to be enough. So that's going to be Pride picking that one up. And so far, so great for Cosa gamers.
Yeah, for sure. This is also something that, hey, this team scaling is relative. You do have a lot of great champions here, especially I think the Yasuo is going to have increased value when you are playing up against range. That wind wall is going to do a lot to stop something like the Senna, but now we're looking at it, there's a lead in almost every single one of these lanes. Aeon Crystal opening up the rest of the map. They're able to start off with a bunch of the kills here, 3 of them already before the 5-minute mark, and we'll see what their objective priority is. I do want to kind of see, now that we're getting more competitive games here in North America, what the split is on the Void Grubs versus the Dragons, because it's very contentious online.
Yeah, my opinion, I'm a Void Grub fan, right? I like when people do the shift up to the mid lane with their bot lane. As you can see, getting run down here is the Singe, taking a lot of damage, but no worse for wear. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of deciding, hey, you know what? We want to play for the Void Grubs instead of playing for the Dragons. And especially here with what Singe can do in a side lane, and the Udyr for that matter, I think Void Grub is going to have a very high priority in this game. You can already see Icelandic Hero making his way there.
Yeah, look at how they're protecting this bottom side of the map. Because they did go for that play on the top side and the resilience of a champion like Udyr, you already see that they've moved on over. Uncle Sam taking a really big trade. One of the great things about oh my god!
Yeah, Retrozing's insane. Oh, he couldn't finish him off! He couldn't finish him off, and Uncle Sam lives with just enough blood in his big toe to keep him upright.
Oh my god, and now he's gonna miss this mid wave as well. Something like we were talking about for the Void Grubs, I am gonna lean towards the fact that I think that this is a good objective for the game in terms of being able to give teams something to play for before the Dragon, before the Rift Herald spawns. However, it feels like that win more. Oh my god, they're just camping Uncle Sam. This is it. Yeah. I mean, Icelandic Heroes maybe going to be able to find the return kill, but now they've even brought down their Singe to try and help. This is really dangerous for Ole Miss. This is a team that can scale, but
puts him in the 1v1 with Retrozing, but he's gonna flash away. You're right, it is a team that can scale, but again, you mentioned scaling is relative. If you're just so far behind, it's not going to matter. And you know, Ole Miss has no answers so far for Cosa gamers.
They need to be able to slow down this game, and I don't think that there's a way for them to do that naturally. They're going to have to create opportunities where this game is going to slow down, because otherwise Yasuo is going to continue to grab more and more gold. Rhino's not really going to move away from this lane, especially because they are playing the supportive Senna and they are playing with a Swain, so there's difficult timings for them to actually find ways to move into mid lane, move to top lane, gather vision. I like that they were seeing Cosa gamers play to their strategy. Hey, Potato, you're playing Taric, it's Seraphine. Seraphine very rarely is going to have kill threat unless our jungler's here, so let's just keep up the pressure, move across the map. We're already winning mid lane, we're doing well in top lane for the time being. I think this is perfectly fine. The only thing that I want to see now is how they link up continuously with this Lee Sin to keep creating plays, because now they've lost out on the top side objective in those Void Grubs you were talking about. The Dragon is starting, and if you can start to get that Dragon stacking, you could start to put Ole Miss in a very uncomfortable position.
Yeah, Ole Miss just has no answer for this. Shogo doesn't have the mana for it. Uncle Sam doesn't have the mid lane presence, so sure, you lose out on the Void Grubs, but you're totally okay with it. With a 4-kill lead, a Dragon lead, it's about 1,000 gold lead this early, which, you know, is nothing to really write home about, but I mean, I see this as a big shock. 8 minutes into the game, Ole Miss still hunting for their first kill, especially with how aggressive Icelandic Hero can be on this Wukong with his top and mid lanes. It just hasn't come together.
Yeah, it's a little worrisome, but obviously we were already talking about how Udyr in the later stages of the game is just going to be able to run straight into this back line. It's all about, hey, what can we really do? I think the problem that they may run into is the fact that Stray, because they are playing into the Singe, they are going to be itemizing for MR, and that is going to be maybe problematic up against maybe something like a Lee Sin and a Yasuo. We'll have to see what it's like in team fights, but you're also going to be lacking a little bit of damage. I'm not as worried as I am if this game was flipped, if we saw Ole Miss with the 4-0, if they were the ones with the Dragon, I'd be a lot less worried for Cosa Gamer, or I'd be a lot more worried for Cosa Gamers, as they lack a lot of that damage. As long as they can stay ahead of the curve here and make sure that they're hitting their items, and specifically that Yasuo is ahead, I think that they have a very strong chance of being able to push this game for Ole Miss.
Yeah, and you can see why they're stabilizing so hard here. You just take a look at the turret plates, right? 2 are down in the top lane, 3 are down in the bottom lane. We're going to see potentially a third one go down in the top lane. The Stray's going to take a turret shot for that, but you know, Soldier and Admirable Potato, they just don't have an answer for the pushing power and sustain of Shogo and Rhino, right? They have their own sustain on the other side, but that's it. So they're just going to be getting punched multiple times over.
Yeah, there's no Ignite in this lane, so it's so difficult now that there's a couple of levels. Typically what we saw in the early game here is the fact that they got all this damage because, I mean, these champions just don't have a ton of base stats that early on, right? They're level 1 champions. They don't have that many abilities either, but Swain is going to continue to get max HP as they land more and more of those stacks, as they're able to get little demon crows out of their opponents. And now that they don't have the Ignite, and specifically that, you know, the Seraphine doesn't have a full item yet, they are lacking a little bit of that damage to be able to punch through the Senna Seraphine. And like you were saying, double ranged, and so it makes it very difficult. Those plates are falling on the bottom side. Udyr is just going to always push a little bit faster than Singed. These are two champions that, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them both proxying behind the first tier 1, and neither jungler really coming up there to pay attention to them. And for the time being, I don't want to jinx it just because we do see, you know, this jungler sitting in the wings, but Uncle Sam has caught up a little bit back up in the farm department, and we have not seen too much action aside from what we got a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, and really Cosa Gamers needs to crank up the tempo a little bit more. Might have an opportunity here, but Rhino gonna get a nice ward in, gonna keep himself relatively safe for now, get a little damage back too. That's really important just because, again, it forces Cosa Gamers to just, you know, try to find a different angle of attack. If they stop finding angles of attack after pushing the pace so hard early, then they are going to be the ones that start to fall further and further behind. I mean, take a look, the gold's already been flipped on its head here. We're going to see a fight come out in the top lane here. And Crystal showing up, and now 1v1 in the bottom lane as well. Retro Zing is going to peel out of there. Forces the Shogo ultimate out, but Uncle Sam on his way. The root is there. They're going to follow everything up. The more roots on top of roots, and a shutdown going to Rhino.
I love that Direct-to-Cam just decided, hey guys, definitely top lane something's going to happen. The two Rennie boys are definitely going to go down. There's going to be 0 kills going up in the top lane. But like we saw right there, Fretrozing can't actually get on top or kill this Swain. It's just an immovable object and something that Retrozing is going to have to deal with as the game goes on. No Blade of the Ruin King finish. That's a pretty important death to go down. Yes, the Void Grubs go over to Cosa Gamers, but this is just another kill as well. Now, the turret falling in the bottom side of the map, so Shogo and Rhino showing off a little bit of that expertise and coming in again as one of the best bot lanes here in the qualifiers. I think this is something we haven't really talked about yet. We touched on it a little bit with Shogo's legacy so far, but this is one of the bot lanes that has been so exciting, and especially for the selection committee, a little divisive as to how highly this team can kind of reach with these two.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion, I think they're probably the best bot lane in the OQs. This is a bot lane that you could see in the NACL and be like, yeah, they can totally fight. Like they would certainly be able to contest with other bot lanes. So easily the strongest ones coming out. And, you know, you see that in the champions that they picked here. It's smart picks that they're performing very, very well on. I mean, you know, just take a look at the CS numbers for Shogo. He's got 119, so much more over this Seraphine here. And the gold in his pocket, I mean, like, he's starting to get weighed down by it after taking out that turret, taking out those plates. I mean, this is going to be a big Swain, and that's exactly what Cosa Gamers was hoping was not going to happen.
Ooh, and they even have the Malignance, which I think is really interesting. I've been kind of looking forward to what we're going to be seeing out of Swain bot on this patch, as there are so many different items now coming into Season 14. I think I might have to hold that. The dragon is spawning here, and this is the second dragon. It's not as important as I think we would see if it was like a soul, but this is exactly the answer. Oh my god. Rhino.
They're going to go in for Rhino. Retrozing going to go real deep. Charm's coming out, only going to hit one person. Retrozing, he needs to get that invulnerability, and he will. They're going to go on top of Shogo. He's chunked out. He's forced to flash away. Potato goes really deep. But a 3-man root is going to claim the life of Admiral Potato. Uncle Sam lurking in the wings here, but unable to get in. But it's a 1-for-1, and what was a 5v4.
Ooh, and Senna still has ultimate as well. Stray can teleport for this if they really want to. Could make a numbers disadvantage, and you already see Ole Miss instead prioritizing the mid wave. I like what they're doing here, not necessarily giving up to Dragon, but also stopping them from re-entering. They can't see your Uncle Sam sitting in this brush. They're even now going to teleport in to chase them away. This is all to make sure they can get this mid-tier 1.
Sam, big slows, big damage coming through, and Straight is just running straight through them. And now Admirable Potato, he's got nowhere to go. He's got no flash because he burnt it in the last fight. And Ole Miss, they even up the kills. They take control of the gold lead, and they're going to put the Void Grubs to good use on this mid turret.
good job from them. Again, protecting the mid wave, saying we want to make sure that they can't enter back into the wave, they can't protect this turret. So like you were saying, more kills going over to the side of Ole Miss, and a really good show of they are not allowed to step here. There are so many times post an objective that teams will just say, okay, we're going to back out, we're going to take the safe way, we're going to try to cheat back into the mid lane, or we're going to cheat back into the lane that has our tower. And it was a great show from Ole Miss to say, we're going to stop that. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. And it ends up kind of maximizing a lot of that gold potential they could have had after that play. So despite giving up the dragon, this team is now up 4,000. And when we look at Cosa Gamers, they're going to have to all in on every single one of these drakes, which thankfully for their team composition kind of falls in line with what they want to do in the game.
Yeah, they can get some really explosive fights out. You know, it really just all depends on the Seraphine ultimates landing. How many people is Admirable Potato going to make invulnerable, right? Because getting your damage out, especially as melees into the Swain, we mentioned it's going to be difficult, but you know, if you're not taking any damage back, like you're all good, right? Like everything's all gravy, baby. You know, they can do whatever they want. And you're just not going to take a lick of damage. So that's going to be super important. Those flashes going to mean a whole lot.
We're also talking about how, you know, this team just in general is going to be scaling up. It looks like we didn't talk about it too much, but Soldier and Admiral actually going for the double support item tech here. If you haven't been looking at Twitter, if you have not been watching, this is just a simple piece of gold generation. The new support items are absolutely disgustingly broken. And so because of that, gold generation is an all-time high. You can really just do this with a lot of bot lanes, and specifically Senna does open this up. 16 and a half minutes. I do want to kind of move on over. The Rift Herald is now being taken. If you haven't been looking at some of the changes, Rift Herald is now the Battle Slay. If you played a little bit of the... Oh my god, what is the game mode? No. It's the good game mode. It's the good game mode. Oh,
I don't play any other game modes.
Okay, Arena has the Battle Slay, but it's the Nexus one. Nexus Blitz. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, found it. We were gonna get that fight started.
It's so deep, it gets knocked up, and now here comes the Singe trying to run to the back line. Second knockup does land. Seraphine ultimate. It's only gonna charm one, but that should be enough to take out Uncle Sam. Now, and Crystal looking for more on the show.
They can chase back on this.
Land the Q. Does get slowed, but should be able to walk out with the rest of his team. But again, look at Straight in the side lane, forcing out the teleport out of this Yasuo here.
Okay, so a couple of things. I feel like both teams could have done a lot more in that instance. Cosa Gamers, I think, missing out on a lot of their knockups, so Yasuo never ends up using the ultimate, and I think could have turned into either another kill or potentially a much faster kill for them to then rotate back into mid lane or do whatever they want. Also, I think Ole Miss could have then retreated and fought back in that instance after they had kind of pushed over the midway line into the jungle. You have Shogo, who still has ultimate, who has now the Ghost coming up as well. No one's going to be able to get on top of Senna just because they've used all of their really important cooldowns in that fight. So I think a bit of a missed opportunity, and one where both teams playing a little bit more cautious, being a little bit more respectful of each other, more so than I think they had to. Looking forward, however, we have Dragon spawning in a minute, and this is going to be a very big break point. This is the closest I think the gold is going to get for the time being, and we have items being completed for both teams. This is where I want to see Cosa Gamers really start to step it up, use their vision priority that they're going to be able to have now that they've entered the river first, and make sure that they can stop the side of Ole Miss from stopping their dragon stacking plan, because it is just going to get worse and worse. I think we're seeing more and more of these team fights start to go the way of Ole Miss just because of what we saw from the draft.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the Cosa Gamers still with a teleport advantage because it's on Seraphine, it's on Singed. Meanwhile, Straight just really has to go and match the Singed, and Straight was the one that was causing a lot of chaos in fights. We've seen the Singe do the same thing, so a 4v4 without those two is going to be a little bit more calm, and I think it's so hard to think who it's going to favor. I think it would still favor Cosa Gamers just because they have those big team fight ultimates. You don't really need the Singe as long as you can take the attention of Straight. I think everything's all good, but yeah, mid lane push going in favor of Ole Miss, so they're able to gain control of the river back.
Okay, teleporting as well. So this is going to be a very important Drake. They obviously want to start this. You already see how Ole Miss is now in position. The only person in Cosa Gamers who I think has a bit of an aggressive spot was going to be RetroZing, but now grouping with the rest of the team, we recognized in draft that this was going to be a very short-ranged composition, and I think we're going to get started now.
Yeah, they're gonna just rip right onto Udyr and throw everything onto him. But the shielding is so
He walks out.
He kicks Shogo into everybody. However, 4 members invulnerable, but the only one who wasn't is gonna fall. Admirable Potato's gonna go down. They're gonna fall like dominoes. They're able to get one back at the very least, but it's all Ole Miss all the time. They even get the revive for good measure onto straight. The Dragon's gonna go to Ole Miss, and Cosa Gamers sit with their tail between their legs.
They went in, but all of the cooldowns were just not timed perfectly. Admiral Potato, the ultimate, doesn't get every single member. They use a lot of their spells to try to get Shogo, but I just don't understand why we, as a Lee Sin composition, as a team that has a Seraphine, why we're focusing the Swain. When we're looking at this champion, you really have to isolate Shogo from the rest of his team. And yes, kicking him into yours is great, but he's in the middle of his ultimate, and he has Malignance, so he's just reducing all of this MR. He's doing 1,000,000 damage throughout all of this, and while you're trying to focus this Swain, you're looking at Senna, who you can't get into range of. You're looking at Icelandic Hero, who on this Wukong is so disruptive to the melee members of Cosa Gamers. That fight was kind of a done deal. Even if they killed Stray, you saw how much damage they were able to do even without this champion. So it's only going to get more difficult from this point, right? They lost the team fight. They lost the dragon. You're going to have to spike on Baron. And the issue now, Baron is very difficult to take. You do not have a very fed Seraphine. She went for the Seraph, so the damage is just not there. There's no second item here for Retrozing either. So how do you ever finish this objective as Cosa Gamers? That's what I'm interested in. This is basically a done deal in my mind. This is a very difficult composition to pilot, and we've already kind of failed some of the litmus tests there.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cosa Gamers have subscribed to the Xpeke way of gaming. Ah, man, they are too tanky. I mean, they just don't have any more damage to put out, all right? You saw it in that last fight. If you don't catch Aeon Crystal in the Taric Ultimate, you're just not going to have enough damage, right? It's just going to be Seraphine and Yasuo. They're going to be able to do everything. And take a look at how big Shogo is, right? Shogo wasn't even healing because everybody was invulnerable, and they dumped all of their damage into Stray. They couldn't kill him. Even if you dumped all your damage into, like, say, Shogo, it wouldn't have mattered, right? If you dump all your damage into Uncle Sam, you might have killed him, but you're going to lose the fight anyway. Things are just not looking good.
Oh my God.
And it's still early. It's still early. You're still learning. They got the turn anyway, right?
All right, they might be able to chase here. I was wondering maybe Admiral Potato was going to try to go for a flash. They know that KJ, if they're tracking summoners, does not have that available to them, but super hard to get in to the rest of Ole Miss. They are now going to be building out that shell, that kind of armored crab, walking up. We're protecting our insides. No one's able to move out. And I love what we're seeing from the solo laners here. Just walk at them.
This is bullying, yeah. Retrozing's got nowhere to go. He's going to land the knock-up, sure, but it's all gravy, baby, if you're on the side of Ole Miss. And they're going to be able to do a lot with that, right? Wave pushing toward the side of Cosa Gamers. Straight will be able to take care of that one, and you know, things are just not looking great on the side of Cosa Gamers, especially with one inner turret going down. Just more pockets of gold available for Ole Miss very shortly.
We didn't talk about this either, but I mean, the sideline matchups are just so doomed. When you're looking at it from the side of Cosa Gamers, you never want Singe to be, or you never want Yasuo to be the one to match Udyr. It's just going to be a matchup that is impossible. And since he is so fast, he just gets around the map. We're going to be seeing now Ole Miss now grab the Baron, and without Stray has been applying pressure onto the side lane, the only person that's going to be able to match him is this Singed. Good call from the side of Cosa Gamers teleporting in, but if you're Ole Miss, that's a win. You've now gone a summoner spell. You can now retreat, get your items back, use this, and just get back out on the map and do the same thing. Stray is never going to lose this unless they commit more than a couple members down there.
Yeah, it's just as long as Ole Miss can continue to execute that blueprint that you described, they will be A-okay. And you can see, you know, multiple members now getting the 2 items. We didn't even really talk about Rhino and, you know, what he's got in the inventory and how strong he's going to be, breaking all of these shields as well. I mean, 2 Serpent's Fangs. When's the last time you saw any team get even 1 Serpent's Fang when they're shields, right? Typically, you just don't see people buy that. And now you get 2? I mean,
there's too many champions that shield in this game.
Smart team. Listen, itemization, Column taught him well.
Oh my god. Well, I'm not getting an itemization, man. Itemization is always super fun to talk about. Now we're gonna see what the Dragon setup here is. But for Ole Miss, I just expect them to be able to walk in. They have such a formidable front line. They don't really care. Like, cool, you have a Singed. We're just gonna get rid of them.
Yeah, Singed is down. Retrozing, he is gonna land the ultimate, but he's gonna die too. And the rest of Cosa gamers, they're going to try to get some roots in, but Shogo is looking for the same. He's slowed up a couple of members. He's going to pull Seraphine to their doom. Killing spree for Shogo, and they are going to start cracking this base off battery. It took them a little bit of time, and it didn't look perfect at the start, but Ole Miss looking very much like the 5th-seeded or 4th-seeded team that many of us expected them to be.
Wow, great job. Hey, early game start, there was a bit of some question marks, but they're able to just walk it down. I mean, hey.
Yep, honestly, I just had nothing more to say. You are so right, my friend. 2 members going to go invulnerable. You could have had 5 turrets, and I don't think it's going to help you out here as they are getting so low. They are going to get forced to flash out of Rhino, who is getting
That's
a
an
little
Ole Miss
low.
special, guys. All right, guys,
They may have overstayed. Let's see what happens. There's just not enough damage, though, coming out of the other side. The fake isolated kill. The knockups are finally going to happen. They're going to be able to pick off 2 members here. One of them already getting revived, though. However, I think they'll be able to take out the Singe. They are. And it looks like Ole Miss, yeah, they are going to be going down here. At least, Straight going to get away? Is he a little too fast?
And no, he's Udyr. He's playing Udyr. It doesn't matter. He's playing Udyr. I run away challenge.
Oh
my god.
Oh, he's so close. Oh, he's getting stunned. Oh, he's running away.
The ice slow. The ice slow. He's out. He's out.
Oh, he's got to dive and dodge. And Retrozing couldn't get over to the Krugs there, though. Trying to cut him off with the pass.
He's out. He's playing Udyr. He's playing Udyr. It doesn't matter.
Listen, you say it doesn't matter, bro.
It doesn't matter. He's playing Udyr. It doesn't matter.
No, he's playing Udyr. Yep.
Oh my god.
The last sidestep put it over the top. Where's the Yakety Sax when you need it?
Yep. That was a really well played leave from Stray, but the rest of it, I like that we get to see teams kind of pushing their limits. Obviously for us, we see God Vision, we end up seeing the result, and we're like, okay, hey guys, you overstayed, you got punished there. In the grand scheme of the game, I think it's just going to be a drop in the bucket when we look at how this game is going to turn out. We're 27 minutes in, a second Dragon has now been taken here for the side of Ole Miss. They're going to continue some of that gold advantage. I love that they're now invading as well. They have the Baron available to them. They can find a kill here. They can just use this objective as a leverage point to end the game.
Yeah, and the TP just cutting off the Seraphine, who gets immediately blown up. Retrozing shows up and says, dude, where's my team? He's going to be able to knock up 2 members, but it's just not going to be enough from there. Admirable Potato dropping that ultimate. Yeah, you're going to protect the Singed, but that is it. And I think off battery, we can now finally put this one officially to bed.
And there we go. Ole Miss are going to be starting off the NACL qualifiers here with a first win up against a 29 seed. I think not a lot of people surprised, but we're going to be tracking this team as we go throughout the day, throughout the weekend, as to where they'll end up and if they're going to end up making the qualifiers.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I'd be heavily surprised. This would make so many waves throughout the community if for some reason Ole Miss was not able to qualify, right? But I do want to talk about Cosa Gamers for a little bit because I like what they showed. You know what? They were plucky. They had this stick-to-itiveness. But you know what? In that early game, really well played.
Yeah, they're obviously, when we look at these teams, there are always some results that were like, okay, very surprising and something that we can look forward to in the next committee. But for Cosa Gamers, it's not the end of their split, right? Like, they have plenty of games. They have at least 2 other games that they could play. If they get 3 losses, they're out, and we do tend to see teams sometimes drop out, but Cosa Gamer has been one that they always stick out to their 5th game, and I'm interested to see what the trajectory of this team is, just because it is, again, 29th seed. We've seen some upsets. We have seen teams make it into that top 16 that were very much not expected to. And so if they can kind of fix some of their early game, and specifically, I think positionally, maybe kind of take a look at what they have and fix a little bit of some of those, I think it should be really fun. We're going to be going towards game 2 in a little bit, but while we're waiting for the second round of Swiss, we appreciate you guys being here, and we'll be back with the second game when that's ready.
See you soon.